to identify a problem, go to the mayor and staff, kind of vet the problem, and then be nimble enough to fix it immediately instead of, going through, I personally think that the mayor and his staff are probably better situated to make these decisions than the council. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, we're going to get complaints, and we're going to take those. I mean, what are y'all's thoughts?
Well, personally, based off the calls that I received, I don't want to have to make these decisions about every street and pinpoint streets and come here and do all that. My idea was that what I was approached with was a particular area where it was a lot of parking, it's congested area parking,
Yeah.
and it was
Same one I got,
prohibiting,
yeah.
our police or our fire, or, in case of emergency, people couldn't get to the residents because the cars are on the street. So just looking from a standpoint to clear that up so people don't park on both sides of the street so that our emergency vehicles can't access,
Okay.
So
So I
I was
think-
just looking for something that could kind of clear that up generally.
And it
for those
appears
types
that currently, under our current ordinance, the mayor and his staff have that authority.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with you then, to leave it up to the mayor and staff to make those decisions and not have to bring it before the council.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a philosophical matter of where do we want the council, do we
Yeah.
want the council body to move more into a strategic, higher level, or do we want to be involved in every single issue down in the weeds? Because these things change over time, right? I mean, traffic ebbs and flows, new streets are built, and, traffic patterns change. I kind of like the way we've got it set up now, where we're not having to address every one of these.
We've sort of been making a move, even several things we've done recently, and to where the council ceases to micromanage the mayor's office and the things of the city,
Yeah.
and sometimes giving them power back to do the things that they probably should have been able to do the whole time. So, as long as they can handle it, I don't see a reason we have to come in here and, like Sonny said, meet every time someone calls and complains.
No.
Yeah, and if us or a future council says this isn't working, we can always
Yeah.
change the ordinance.
I agree, and it can happen better in a timely manner than coming back up to us all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, it'll take us a few months to
Exactly.
get an ordinance passed.
Because we're going to get the calls anyway, and so
Right.
we're going to bring it to you anyway, and then, the powers that be knows how to go out and look at the particular area and see what the issue is, and we trust that it gets taken care of,
Yeah, and
We'll go from
like I think Councilman Townsend just said, if at any point the council disagrees with the decision that the mayor makes, you have the power to, pass an ordinance.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like we've got consensus on that.
Right.
Okay. If you go further down on homeless issues, briefing to council, our city attorney is out of town with one of her children, I think at a Beta Club convention or meet today. That's why she's not here. We're targeting the first meeting in March to have a brief for you. Employee handbook approved by council. If you look in your packets, I think that you have a copy of that. If not, you were all emailed a copy of that. That's our draft. The thought here is that you'll have a couple of weeks along with our department heads to look at this final draft, to make any questions or raise those with the mayor or the mayor's office before we bring it to you, hopefully at the first council meeting in March, for you to vote on. Any issues with that, council?
Sounds like a plan.
Archive city council meetings, present live stream to council. I mark that as complete. We've had some good conversations with C-Spire over the last few weeks, even to the point today. You may or may not have seen some of the C-Spire folks and our M4 folks in the back before you got here. It was identified at 2:30, the stream didn't work. They were here on site and have fixed that. So we should be live streaming. Emily, am I correct? So there seems to be some attention given to this now, and we do have other support staff that are here to make sure that it works, and I would expect that to continue. We also have the SD cards in place. We have two loaded in the camera so that if it ever doesn't live stream, those will be recorded, and we have a positive control process with that, with Birgit and her staff here at the Civic Center to make sure that we always know where those cards are. Do you agree that that resolves your issues with the streaming process?
Everybody good with that plan?
Right.
Yeah, I guess only time will tell.
So the fixes that are in place now by C-Spire, well, that'll stop that random alert that I'll get on a Friday morning that the city council is live having a meeting.
Well, it should. But I will say that they have some people devoted to try to help us resolve that and actually come here when we have an issue now, as opposed to, the way it's set up, that from what I gathered in Troy or wherever this person is, they're able to hit a button and record. They never have to actually be here. But that doesn't help if the software or the equipment that we have here is malfunctioning.
Mm-hmm.
And so having somebody on site prior to the council meetings and doing a test earlier in the day to make sure that it can go live. Now, if we do a test at 2:30 and it works, could it still happen at 5 o'clock that it doesn't come on for some reason? Absolutely.
Well, I mean, which I said this in our annual planning, obviously I think ideal is that it's live streamed, but a really good backup is that we record the meeting and upload it as soon as possible,
Yes, sir.
that we have it archived. I think that's the most important thing. Obviously, live streaming needs to be our gold standard, and that's what we need to strive for, but sometimes there's malfunctions. I think everybody understands that.
So I marked that complete. Quarterly update on customer service experience. Leanne is planning to brief the council, second meeting in March. Land Bank Authority this week, February 19th, we have our first meeting scheduled. Mr. Goldman will come down from Hand Arundel. He's the attorney that's helped us out with nuisance properties, establishment of the Land Bank Authority, and widely, I think, considered in those realms, at least from the League of Municipalities perspective. He's worked with over 40 cities. I think he was the right choice. Well, he's been here before you recently for the nuisance properties, and I think he'll do a good job explaining to those board members the purpose of the Land Bank Authority and also the bylaws that they are looking to adopt on the 19th. Quarterly nuisance property update. Thomas is looking to do that at the second meeting in March. Blake is working on our wayfinding signage. I think he and Emily have had a few meetings since our last council meeting, and we're to the point where we're going to order that. So if you remember, we're going to do that in 3 phases. We're going to order the first, I think it's 13 or 14 signs in phase 1. Those will be installed by the Public Works team once they're delivered. Recreation Center and outdoor pool, I marked that as complete, February 8th. I know, I think all of you were there at our grand opening. I don't know if you have any comments or feedback since that time, but I think that Blake and his team, of course, Barry Mott and many others, I don't think there was a city department that didn't have some hand in making sure that thing opened to great reviews from the public. And I know that everybody put in a lot of time and effort to make sure that it was the best it could be.
I thought all the speakers at that did an excellent job.
I got a lot of positive feedback myself from a lot of people, even the ones that couldn't be there that watched it on Facebook or some other social media platform commended the same thing, Councilman Goolsbee.
Several people commented how the drone footage looked great, really showed the whole layout of everything up there, so that was awesome.
I got asked a couple times if Blake Moore was a preacher. He was so good.
Well, that's great. I hope that the community continues to enjoy it as much as we all have this far. I know our basketball season was a success, and at some point I'd like Blake to give an update in the month or two ahead on the progress of memberships and usage for that facility. One other thing that found out, our first volleyball tournament, Blake briefed that at our staff meeting today, is going to be this weekend at the Recreation Center. 40 teams will be at that event. So we're going to have a lot of people coming to our town, staying a couple of nights in a hotel room, spending money in our community at our restaurants and shops, hopefully. And, hopefully that's just the first of many to come.
I was going to say, if you've never seen a volleyball tournament, got to go. I used to referee those. They are a hoot. They are great, and the young ladies do an outstanding job. So it's something to go see if you've never seen a volleyball, how great it's run by the staff and people.
If you're around this weekend, come check it out.
Yeah.
The municipal election, our plan to brief the council will be at the next council meeting, first in March. Beverly has really, she's been through a few elections now. She may be starting to stress out a little bit about this one. But we will have a plan for you at the next council meeting. Talk about timelines, when things need to happen, decisions need to be made, et cetera. So. Also, if you look in Q2, I've just outlined some things that we're thinking about already for Q2 in there, when we need to schedule some meetings, maybe who's in charge of those. But just to see that we are looking ahead, even though we're currently working Q1 goals, we're actively working on Q2 as well. That concludes my quarterly update.
All right, so that concludes the quarterly update. Any questions on that? We're ahead of schedule, so. All right, we will move to, the reason I say we're ahead of schedule is I think we've already covered the on-street parking item, but we will review the agenda for tonight's meeting now. All right, so we'll, of course, open up with our roll call, opening prayer and pledge of allegiance, and approving the agenda. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda, which consists of, and you'll stop me if I go past something that you'll need to discuss. Work session minutes and meeting minutes from February 4th, contract billings from the Ardura Group, Hand Arundel. Of course, the Ardura Group is the wastewater treatment facility upgrades. That's our specialty engineering firm working on that. And Hand Arundel is working on our dangerous buildings program and our community development. Then Fine Getty is our state governmental affairs contract. And Parks and Rec has a travel request for Jolie Fernandez, lifeguard instructor certification class. And then we'll move on to a permit request from Linda Page regarding the Oscar Club Day of Service. Looks like they are wanting to use Bates Memorial Stadium. Blake, everything good with that? Then request to address the council for street closure on Easy Street. This is Joseph Freeman, representing Total Sight and Sound. Fun on Easy Street on March 22nd. Chief Moore, is he in here now? I don't see him. We'll talk to him in the regular meeting. All right, then Lila Falk for the Spring Festival at the Monument. Again, we'll talk with Chief Moore in the regular session on this. Privilege of the floor, then staff reports, and we don't have any old business. Then we'll move on to new business, oath of office for Blake Moore. Anything we need to know on that, Jonathan?
Not to ruin the surprise, but you all know why that is. But we had a vacancy, and we had 4 really great candidates that were interviewed, and the mayor made a selection, I think, on the best candidate that we interviewed.
Yep. So just a refresher, that's a hire that is the mayor's authority to handle unilaterally. Then review and consider Resolution 021825, which is the employee classification plan for Parks and Rec. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So we built a pool. We need lifeguards, and pretty much that simple. So.
Yeah. So we're just creating those positions and sliding them into pay grade 4. authorize the mayor to execute the Poly Incorporated agreement.
Yeah, this is something that you have via email very recently, so don't be surprised if you check before the meeting. But I talked to Glenn Morgan and Polly about the ways that we were monitoring and reporting and testing really our wastewater treatment plants effluent. And so I didn't know this until recently, but Barry Mott kind of walked me through some of the ways that we do this. So we do 3 weekly tests every week for the effluent, and we also have monthly tests that is brought to Poly. Poly tests those as independent, and then we have annual testing. A lot of that is done internally, so we have a lab on site at our Northeast plant, and when they review these tests, they write them down in a notebook. And so one of the things that came out of discussion with Barry about how we looked at that was, does it make sense that we always handle these samplings internally? And what happens if, for whatever reason, we're not doing a great job with that? Should we have some independent third party come in and review it, so that we know about problems before they may otherwise surface? And so, looking at Dothan and some other larger wastewater treatment facilities in the state, a lot of them have incorporated that into their processes. We're certainly nowhere near that large, but we're also not as small as a lot of other places. So we went just recently, we met with Ardura about our, roughly $3.5 million wastewater treatment plant upgrades that we're looking to do here in the city. And we talked about capacity, and I think that's something even on the strategic plan. How do we plan for capacity? I think it's just as important that we monitor what we're doing and make sure that we comply within the regulations and that there's no surprises. So with that, I had asked Glenn with Polly to give us a draft on what some sort of third-party monitoring might look like. So let me read through some of the things that are on this.
But y'all should have this in your packet. It's a late addition to the packet.
Okay. So if you look there, develop a standard operating procedure for collecting compliance samples, develop a chain of custody and documentation consistent with permit requirements, develop an SOP for each analytical method used by the facility staff for generating compliance data, conduct training sessions with the staff at each plant focusing on sample collection, preservation, and maintaining proper chain of custody documentation, conduct training sessions with the faculty staff that are involved in laboratory operation on proper lab technique and documentation, train faculty staff on completing and submitting discharge monitoring reports and other reports required by ADEM. So all of our guys do a great job in terms of getting trained. They in order to maintain their current certification, they have to go to certain courses to do that. And if you look here, it does talk about 35 hours a month is approximately what they would spend. $65,000 is roughly the fee or what they think that would be, and that would be tied into that 35-hour deal. But if you look at it in terms of an audit, it would be like somebody coming in behind what our folks are doing and independently sampling and making sure that the results are consistent with what they're seeing. And you say, well, if your guys are doing such a great job, well, oftentimes we have, a new person that may be just certified, level grade 3 or 4. It may be the first time that they've done a test, maybe the 10th time, but they certainly haven't been doing it 20 or 30 years like some of our operators. So being able to have that quality control in place and quality assurance in place, I think would help the city continue to maintain. I think we have a great record with ADEM, but we want to make sure that that's consistent as we continue to grow.
Any questions on this? Everybody comfortable?
Good.
All right, the next item would be authorizing the mayor to execute a final change order for Holland Contracting.
So If you recall the corporate hangar that was built, there is based on the Davis-Bacon wage rate issues that were identified in that process, the contractor had put a lien on the hangar. There was a dispute over, and the bid documentation, Davis-Bacon was obviously agreed to. It was an FAA project. There were grant monies, federal grant monies in there. Barge was over the project management of that contract. Barge basically advised the city not to sign off. They had some discrepancies that they thought existed. We believe that those have been remedied at this point. This doesn't, to my knowledge, Barry, this doesn't take care of the final payment and all payment. We still have some contingency that's there. But this will release enough to get the lien satisfied.
This adds the change order to the contract. That's all it does.
Okay. So this will add the change order to the contract and should satisfy the lien so we can move forward. Okay.
Any questions on that? All right. Barry, do you have anything to add on that?
If you want to talk.
Just real quick, I want to point out that while change orders are always looked at as a bad thing, it's an additional cost that, I was always told a change order is an excuse from an engineer not doing his job. This is I'll tell you that, we got over $500,000 of additional grant money that was added to this project, and one of the requirements for that is it triggered some federal requirements, which was the Davis-Bacon wage rates, and we knew that going in there. The problem was we would have done this on the front end when we did when we got the additional grant money in, but we couldn't quantify how much this was going to cost us. We knew it was going to be in that $30,000 to $40,000 range. That was a guesstimate when we accepted the grant money. So remember, we got $500,000 worth of grant. It cost us a little over $40,000 as additional labor costs on it. So it was still, in my opinion, a good deal for the city. I just want to point out that it doesn't get lost that this is not a negative change order. This is something we knew when we accepted that $500,000 of additional grant money for the hangar.
All right, any other questions on that? All right, next item is to authorize the mayor to execute a deed from the state of Alabama on Highway 27 North.
Yes, sir. So the latest phase of Hunter's Hill right there, the city required there's an extension of a turn lane that turns off, and the city put that in as a required right-of-way. But we're asking that AlDOT take that over as AlDOT turn lane, and for them to do that, we need to transfer that property. Basically, it becomes our property as right-of-way. We're going to transfer that to AlDOT so that they have permission to do that. So it's something that we'd planned on.
Any questions? All right, next item is to amend an ABC license due to a Scrivener's error, which I Googled and learned that a Scrivener's error is a minor error, basically a typo or a syntax mistake, and we were just fixing it.
That's correct.
So, Jonathan, did you have anything? Or
just
it was
wanted
the entity name, wasn't it?
It was, and I want to point out that this wasn't something that city staff, the error was on the ABC side on the licensing, and basically a discrepancy or syntax error in the name, what they were doing business as versus what their legal name is.
Yeah. So we're just getting all the documents to line up with each other.
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions on that? All right, then we'll go on to mayor's report and council member comments. Is everybody good with this agenda? All right. Back to our work session agenda.
Hey,
Go ahead.
We were on 27 just a second ago. It reminded me, do we have any update on the traffic control there at Shellfield
Yeah.
and 27? If that's going to take too long, we can skip it
No,
tonight.
Barry, on 27, last I recall, the letting of that project had happened towards the end of last year, in like November. When are they scheduled to start construction?
I had a discussion with the engineer on that project last week, and they're expecting it to get started any time. It's in AlDOT's court for that project. There's nothing else that we could do except for just making sure that they're not waiting on us.
Barry, since you were up there, I'm getting a lot of complaints about the the lighting on Main Street downtown?
Yes, sir.
What's our status with the new lights?
I have, I've got a cost or a quote to get a handful, 5 of the lights that I'd like to do the study on, and they're in my court, sir, to process the PO and get them in hands. And then when I do that, we'll get them installed. Realistically, we're probably over the next 45 days, have them installed and to make sure this is what we want to do. The reason I want to do their study on it was a couple of reasons, but primarily the lights will be on Main Street, and there's 2 types of lights that we looked at and other people have looked at for that. One is just purely shining down on the ground. That gives the best lighting for the people that are walking, the pedestrians, to give the luminaires that you want. However, it doesn't do great for the ambiance for downtown. It doesn't shine on the buildings. It doesn't shine around. And what we want to do is we want to make it bright enough so you can see on the ground, but we don't want it to be just like a dark, like a spot on the ground and a shadow. So we're doing some high-intensity LED lights, and I just want to make sure that AlDOT doesn't come back and say they're too bright for people driving down the street. I have full confidence they're going to do exactly what we want them to do. I'm just trying to get buy-in from AlDOT, sir, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
I'll echo what Barry said. If you recall, when we did our strategic plan, just if you want to look on Q3, we've identified that as a Q3 goal to be complete. So we anticipate that the lights, which you recall we had the issues with Alabama Power, if we agreed to go with Alabama Power, we would have to remove the water lines from the light, then we couldn't do plants downtown. So in order to do that, Barry said that Public Works could take that on. We could order the lights. He could identify which lights needed to be there. So we're still following that same process. We're identifying the lights, making sure that they're the right lights. Once we identify them, we'll get them ordered, and I would say within 60 days of delivery. I made sure that I reiterated with Barry that we don't go in there and try to do every light at once, because our Public Works team, you see them around town, probably just as often as I do, but between PV Park and the soccer fields and helping out with City Hall and other projects, sewer projects, they're stretched thin. So I want to make sure that they've got time to do it. But Q3, the estimated date's complete by the end of Q3.
I understand completely. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
People keep asking. It's the reason I ask.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and it is, if you turn the page, it is on our Q3 agenda, next to last item there. Any other questions? before we
What was
move
the
on?
area, Councilman Paget, you were asking about the intersection at where?
27 Sheffield.
Okay.
That's your A-Trip 2 grant, where they started out with a roundabout and then decided to do signalization.
So, do we have an update about or did we talk, I think we did, about the intersection right there on 167 and Salem Road? With that,
So
That's a mess.
so one of the things that you asked us to do was to get a meeting set up with AlDOT. If you look, we had that as a Q2 goal. I got that meeting set up. Actually, Senator Carnley and Representative Marcus set that up. But the mayor and I plan to meet with AlDOT on February 25th in Montgomery about that intersection.
they got a lot going on out there, rocks and all kind of carrying on.
Of course, they're supposed to get back paving out here soon, right? It looks like they've been doing some work down here below the,
On the hill, they cut
yeah.
Yes, sir. So I was having communication earlier today with the contractor on 167. He brought up to me that Guardian Way, which is the road that goes up towards the Armory, that they're planning to close that road starting next week for 2 weeks. And I haven't even had a chance really to get with the Armory and get with staff on it. It's just relatively fresh off the press, and I want to make sure are they really serious? That's what they want to do. But we see them going back to work and trying to get that project complete on 167 widening. But I was texting him 5 minutes ago.
Once they get back to work, are we looking at 3 months, 6 months?
I've heard in April is what I've heard, March, April is completion is what I've heard.
Completion, okay, well,
That's what I've heard.
that would be great. All right, I think we'll probably have some time at the end for questions, but let's move on. So I believe we have completed our discussion on on-street parking, right? Didn't we mark that off the list?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's move on to the last item there, the incubator lease.
Sure. So, council members, I want to, in your packet, you'll find a couple of documents that are double paper clipped together. If you start with that, I want to start with the fact that our incubator advisory board, who makes recommendations on the use of the incubator space, meets whenever they get a request. So how that works, it's managed by Wiregrass Economic Development, Jesse Quillen, who I don't know if he's here.
He's here.
Yeah, okay. Come on up, Jesse. So somebody comes and submits a form. So if you look at the second page or the second packet that's there together, you'll see it says, "Hello Chunky Cookie Co. Business Overview." So they submit a business plan typically or about their business and fill out, the next page is a application for assistance for Enterprise Business Incubator. You'll see that filled out. And then the advisory board would meet and discuss the merits of the project. And you'll see the fourth page in that is the minutes from the Incubator Advisory Board. The last page is sort of how we have broken up historically. So if somebody said they wanted to lease space in the incubator, it matters if it's office space, R&D, manufacturing bay, as to what that market rate rent is. So they start on year one at below market rate rent, and the objective is they can't stay there more than 5 years. By year 5, they should be graduated to true market-based rent and be able to find, an equivalent space somewhere else in the community. So that's what the incubator purpose was. But I'll let Jesse talk to you about the application, and then subsequently the other packet there is the lease with an attachment A that shows the actual space in there that's referenced in the lease. And I'll let him talk about what their conclusion was from the Incubator Advisory Committee.
Good evening, gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor,
Evening.
members of the council. Thank you all for giving me just a few minutes tonight to talk about the advisory board meeting we held on February the 7th to consider Greg's application. One of the members, longtime members, Mr. Larry Milner, is here tonight as well, so he may want to provide some input here. But after looking at his application and understanding the request, we were thrilled to be able to consider that. And Greg is wanting to occupy manufacturing bay number 1, noted on your floor plan there. And you'll notice on that is a total of 5,311 square feet. So we used the year 3 rate, which you have a copy of your rates there, and we just use year 3 to kind of provide some factor of inflation and escalation in there. It's 42 cents a foot. The monthly rate on that would be $2,230 and 83 cents. And the agreement is to escalate that 4 cents per square foot per year, each year that it's occupied. Utilities are prorated, but according to the rate structure we have, Jonathan, thanks for bringing that up, the utilities are a part of that rate. And then there's a provision in the contract to allow for any excess utilities. It's been a kind of a difficult, I guess you could say, year out there, given the occupancy, the way it's been occupied, and so it's going to take a bit of time to track and understand what those rates are, and then compare it to, we don't know what normal is, but we'll look at that and see. But there's a provision in the current rates at 42 cents a square foot that would allow for roughly $892 of utilities on that. So I'm assuming the way the contract is written, that excess would be over that amount. If it shoots up over that amount, then Greg and I have talked that he would be responsible for that excess amount. We don't do these very often, but we're excited to have the opportunity to do it, and would be glad to give you an opportunity to ask questions at this time. Greg might can answer them for us.
So the space has been rather underutilized for years,
For a
right?
number of years. When I got here in '21, it was occupied by Arista Aviation
Just as storage, right?
as storage. Correct. Jonathan noted that they were not paying rent. The other side, Manufacturing Bay Number 2, was occupied at that time by HSAA, and they too were not paying rent. So both of those occupants are gone now, and once you all started renovating at the City Hall, the Recreation Department took Manufacturing Bay 2, and administration, I believe, took most all of Manufacturing Bay Number 1. You'll note on the contract that Greg has asked for an effective date of April the 1st. That gives time for a couple of things. One is for the city to remove their storage items that are in storage, and gives Greg time to prepare for an opening and obtain equipment, get permits, et cetera, et cetera.
So we're not being asked to take action on this. Ultimately, the council has to approve this.
That's correct. And one other additional thought is that Greg had asked for a right of first refusal on Manufacturing Bay Number 2. That's written into the contract, and Ashley did that for us. So we modeled that actually after a contract that was written by Rayner Cotter for Advantage Consulting Solutions that are out there right now. Question?
So council members, so one, you're not being asked to take action on this tonight. However, I think it's prudent for all parties involved to take action at the next council meeting. To the extent possible, I'd even like to hear if there's any cons or issues from the council tonight. The reason for that is the individual in the company who are looking to do that are going to have to spend a significant amount of money to invest in equipment and also start modifications on the facility to meet their specs for the business. So with that, in order for them to move forward in good faith, they kind of need to know where they're sitting in terms of, generally, is this a good idea or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good plan to give us a couple weeks to, I mean, obviously it's coming as a recommendation from the incubator committee. We just need to vet this and, for everybody's benefit, vet this and make sure that, there could be no accusations of unfair treatment or preferential treatment, I guess I should say.
Yeah, and I'll just tell
It doesn't
you,
appear that's the case.
it's actually above and beyond. If you look on the rate sheet, they started in year 3 instead of year 1, which would be the cheapest rate that they could do.
Yeah.
But-
And our previous tenants were not paying any rent.
That's right.
So that's a good advantage, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. And that was structured as part of a economic development incentive agreement
Right,
for
I
those
understand.
businesses. But regardless, the city hasn't actually had a revenue stream from that space in a number of years, probably
Yeah.
10 or more.
Right. But, that incubator building wasn't built for companies like HSA and Arista. They were built for more of these types of fledgling manufacturing, in this case, food services type companies, right?
Absolutely. It was built much in part from a grant from USDA probably about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so the city certainly, with the office space that they have and customers that have come through there and have incubated out, have had some successes with it. But really, based on the occupancy over the last 10 years, it has not been fully utilized to the degree possible. And I think this would get it back on track.
And has that largely been, I guess, twofold, just the lack of requests to use the space and the fact that it was filled up by HSA and Arista?
That was a large part of it. Certainly, there were requests from time to time, but they also had to be vetted by sometimes the Incubator Advisory Board didn't think a lot of the request.
Yeah.
You know, Jesse just mentioned Advantage Consulting, who's in there now. It's an internet consulting company. They're currently occupying the space, and they grew, paying about $300 a month. We had Mag Block, I think, was in there at some point, who was a manufacturer for some firearms-related safety equipment. Sister Schubert Rolls, other people in the past had occupied it, but it's been a long time. But yeah, it's been a function of, you know, how we've allowed it to be utilized.
Is our public transportation company using any of the office space?
I wouldn't say they are actually using one of the office spaces. And then the area, the reception area. The reception area and one office. And that would still be able to coexist, as I understand it. Greg, I think you've understood that on your time out there. So, but some of those modifications that need to be made to the facility are going to need to talk about how they have access to their vans and parking. And so that's why I'm trying to press, you know, even though it's an April 1st start time, money needs to be spent soon.
Well, any other questions on that? Obviously, we've got information to review. Mr. Milner, I'm sure you don't mind if we reach out to you. Did you have anything you needed to add tonight that wasn't said?
I don't have anything to add to it other than we met and it comes down to, I've been on this.
Why don't you come speaking so they can hear you on the camera?
I've been on this group for about 15 years. And we've always been hamstrung by the previous administrations that was giving this space away. And so now that we have the opportunity to make income for the city, it's a shining light to me.
Okay.
You know, and
So you feel good about it?
We've gone through the facility. We've gone back and forth with it, and we know y'all got a bunch of stuff. Y'all got to move out, and Blake and him got stuff to move out of the other room, but he's going to not only take the room, the large room, but he's going to use the small room. So, you know, no money and getting money. I know we like money, so let's go get some money.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this thing for quite a while, so y'all are just getting it. I'm just getting it tonight,
Yeah.
but we've been looking for it for a while. So it's a very good advantage for the city of Enterprise to have him to take it over.
All right, good. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Jesse, you got anything else to add?
Real quick, just would like to recognize the other members of the advisory committee. Sue Ellen Mitchell, Blake Woodall is a new member. Absent was Carl Holbrook, and we miss dearly our friend Neil, Mr. Neil up at Brown. Thank you. Neil Brown was former chairman,
Yep.
and we have one open slot on that committee. So,
Right.
any other questions or comments?
Anybody got anything? No, but y'all feel free to reach out to any of the committee members, Jesse or Jonathan. Certainly Greg, if y'all have any questions. And we'll get this on next meeting's agenda.
Thank you all.
All right. Well, that's our work session agenda. Does anybody, we've got about 10 minutes. Does anybody have anything to add? All right, let's take a 10-minute recess. We'll be back in regular session at 6 o'clock. join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Council, you should have in your packet the agenda that we discussed in the prior work session. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda of the meeting as submitted.
I move to approve the agenda of the meeting as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now consider the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the council for review, are considered to be routine, and will be enacted by one motion of the City Council with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request of a member of the City Council. And I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now consider a request to address the council for a permit request from Ms. Linda Page from the Oscar Club for their day of service. Ms. Page? Good. There should be a button there on your mic.
Thank you.
That's better.
Good evening. I'm Linda Page with the Enterprise Oscar Club, and we are requesting a permit to host an event on March 15th, 2025, of the 8th Annual Day of Service for the Enterprise area. This day of service, we are having a lot of different people that are going to come and help us do projects throughout the city. Some people are doing projects prior, and we will need to be at the Bates Memorial Stadium on about 8 o'clock that morning. So we are requesting a permit to host that event.
All right, council, you should have had that packet, or in our packet that was distributed before the meeting, or yesterday. Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Page? I know y'all have been doing this for a while. It's always been a great event. Blake, we're good to go with the facilities. Anybody got any questions or concerns?
We do have one other request.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
That day, we have a lot of people that will be picking up trash along in different areas and cleaning up debris. And I was just wondering if we could make arrangements that some of the garbage be picked up in different areas.
Shannon, haven't we arranged something like that before with this? Eugene, you may remember what we've done
In the past, we've had dumpsters put up for the public to use, but they were not very successful. It was a waste of city money, to be honest with you, because nobody came out and put them in. But the trash that was picked up and down the streets, the Public Works Department came through on Monday and picked it all up. So we've had good success with the Public Works Department before.
Oh, okay, so they'll just pick it up on Monday afterwards?
Yes.
Okay, that will work.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Yes.
it was one area on, right across from City Hall, I thought was relatively used pretty much, Shannon. I don't know, I just remember that being a dumpster area. I saw lots of people bringing their stuff that was out, picking trash up. They were using that area.
Well,
Those trailers or something.
Okay, well, I think we have some people that will have trucks. My husband will have one, and if we can, we'll pick up what we can that day and deposit it in the trash.
Shannon, do you have something?
Excuse me. Yes, sir, like Miss Rick said, we did put out trucks last year, had two people sitting there with two trucks. They didn't have hardly anything put in those trucks. They sat there all day, for people to bring stuff, and nothing was ever brought to them.
So what's been more successful, it sounds like, is just
Just go
putting
around
it where we
picking it up.
normally, where you normally would by the curb,
Right.
behind the curb, and then
Yes,
you all
sir.
come by and pick it up. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, well, thank you, Ms. Page. I will entertain a motion to approve the permit request as submitted.
I move to approve the public arrest as submitted.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Page. All right, we now have a request to address the council regarding a street closure from Mr. Joseph Freeman for Fun on Easy Street event. Is Mr. Freeman here? Yes, sir. Come tell us about your event. This is Total Sight and Sound. They've requested to close Easy Street from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Saturday, March 22nd. Or actually, the street closure will be 1:30 to 10:30 on the 21st. So, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I actually own Total Sight and Sound,
Okay.
sole proprietor of it. And a few years back, the City of Enterprise designated that portion of downtown to be an entertainment district. And just to help you utilize that, we are an entertainment company. We do a lot of weddings, a lot of the school functions around here. And just to utilize that and help the city have something else to do that's fun and entertaining, family-friendly, and clean, utilize that space where it's not on the main road, it's not on a state highway, and be able to have a few bounce houses, one of our DJs come and play family-friendly music. We've done it for First Baptist Church, First United Methodist. We do the daddy-daughter dance, a few of the elementary schools as well. So very versed on keeping it, family-oriented and clean and diverse as well. And also have a couple of extra food trucks. Taco Mitch is already there, but if 500 people come, it doesn't matter what restaurant you are.
Right.
You're not keeping up with that. As far as the funding, I'm funding everything out of my own pocket. Nobody has to worry about anything. I've already addressed security with the city and Chief Moore to take care of that as well, and to take care of the bounce houses, the DJ. I've spoken to Breyer's Appraisal about utilizing some power for them. That way, there's not a string of generators and you have overbearing loudness from motors going on to do that as well.
All right. Any questions from the council? I still don't. Jonathan, Chief Moore's not here. Have you talked to him about this, or is anybody?
Council members, Chief Moore, I don't believe has any issues that he's brought to our office with the street closure for this or the following one for the Spring Festival.
Okay.
So I think
these are things we've done before.
We've done before. We haven't done. Have we done yours before? We haven't done this one before.
But we've closed Easy Street
We've
for
closed
this
Easy
type
Street.
of event.
Yes, sir. I
Okay.
think we most recently did it for the Oktoberfest or whatever,
Yep.
similar fashion. I don't think there's any issues. These are fairly short timeframes, and our Main Street director and/or tourism director usually confer with the local business owners to make sure that they have buy-in
Yep.
on that as well.
All right. Anything else?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir,
I
Mr.
was
Mayor.
going to ask the question, your event, will it be out in the streets like over there in the parking lot?
Strictly in Easy Street.
All right. Anything else? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the permit request as submitted.
I move to approve the permit request as submitted.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We now have a request to address the council regarding a street closure from Ms. Lila Falk for the Spring Festival at the Monument. Is Ms. Falk here? Tammy, you want to come tell us about it? So this is Saturday, April 12th from 11 to 4. The street closure will be from 4:45 in the morning to 5 p.m. on West College Street and East College Street and East Scrubs.
That's correct.
Yep. We've done this before, right?
We've done this before, absolutely. This is our traditional springtime. They're trying to stick with that set date every year, and then the areas that we're using are the same.
All right. Any questions, concerns? I'll entertain a motion to approve the permit request as submitted.
Move to approve the permit request as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, we now have privilege of the floor. This is the part of the meeting where anyone in attendance tonight who wishes to address the council may do so for 3 minutes. If there's a public hearing on the agenda for the topic you are concerned with, please wait until that public hearing opens to address the council. If they choose, staff, mayor, and council will respond to your comments during the appointed times later in the meeting. Repetitive, disruptive, and disparaging comments will not be tolerated. If you're found out of order, your privileges can and will be revoked. Does anyone wish to address the council at this time? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Evening.
I am Winnie Frazier, to the council and the mayor, a member, first vice president of Dothan Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We are an international service organization dedicated to scholarship, sisterhood, service, and social action. We are here tonight to recognize the council and the mayor for your continued hard work and dedication to City of Enterprise, continuing to make it the city of progress. As we stand before you, again, we express our sincere appreciation and let you know that we're available for service if we're called upon. And thank you again for your hard work, and we appreciate all that you do for Enterprise. Enterprise is a part of our service in the Wiregrass. Again, thank you for your service. We appreciate you, and we salute you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your service. Does anybody else wish to address the council? All right, seeing no one, we'll move on to staff reports. Are any staff reports that are unable to be given in our work session? All right, we have no old business this evening, so we'll move on to new business. The first item is regarding the oath of office. I'll call upon Mayor Cooper, who will administer the oath of office to Director of Community Services and Recreation, Mr. Blake Moore. Mayor?
First, I would like to say good evening to everyone. And this is quite an honor as we go about trying to put people in positions in order that we can continue to be the city of progress. Department heads are responsible for any number of people within their department. And of course, with this department, we just finished a new rec and aquatic center, something that has been lacking for years, along with a swimming pool. So again, the person that we are going to administer this oath to is the person we feel like that can carry this on for us and will do a good job in promoting these services, as well as taking care of our youth as well as our adults as they go for recreation and aquatics. So Blake, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Blake Moore,
I, Blake Moore,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Alabama,
of the State of Alabama,
so long as I
so long as I
continue a citizen
continue a citizen
thereof,
thereof,
and I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
and honestly
and honestly
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office
of the office
upon which I
upon which I
am about to enter,
about to enter,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Speech.
just want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, council, for trusting and in believing in me. I have several family and friends and staff members here today, and I appreciate your support. Even have my old offensive line coach from high school here, Coach Truett Chambers, and means the world to me to have him here with us today. My best friend from first grade, Casey Max, here, commissioner, county commissioner, and Auburn alum, Jim Thompson. Nobody ever thought that an Alabama alum and an Auburn alum would be the best of friends as we are, but honored and humbled to start this new position with the city. Being from Enterprise, this means a whole lot to me, and I believe that my staff and myself, we will carry out the duties that are charged to us from the city, from you, Mr. Mayor, and from the City Council. And I look forward to the challenge ahead and working with everybody. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Moore. All right, we'll now move on to review and consider Resolution 021825 to amend the employee classification plan for Parks and Recreation. I introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 021825, amending Ordinance 101601, the employee classification plan salary schedule. The amendment establishes the positions of head lifeguard and lifeguard, both classified under pay grade 4. Do I hear a motion?
I move to adopt Resolution 021825.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 021825. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Poly Incorporated regarding environmental consulting services. I call for a motion to authorize mayor to execute an agreement with Poly Incorporated for environmental consulting services related to the wastewater treatment facility operations, subject to review of the agreement by the city attorney and city administrator. Do I hear a motion?
I move to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Poly Incorporated, subject to review by the city attorney and city administrator.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to execute this agreement. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider authorizing the mayor to execute a final change order to Holland Contracting, LLC on the corporate hangar. I call for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute the final change order with Holland Contracting, LLC for the construction of a new corporate hangar at Enterprise Municipal Airport. This change order will increase the existing contract by $45,442, bringing the total not to exceed construction costs to $1,712,279. The change order is necessary to comply with Davis-Bacon wage rates following the city's receipt of an additional $592,000 in federal grants designated for the corporate hangar construction project. Do I hear a motion?
Move to authorize the mayor to execute the final change order with Holland Contracting, LLC.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to execute this change order. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now consider authorizing the mayor to execute a deed with the state of Alabama on Highway 27 North. I call for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a deed with the state of Alabama for the conveyance of .02 acres of property for the state's turn lane on State Highway 27 North at Hunters Hill Way. Do I hear a motion?
Move to authorize the mayor to execute the deed with the state of Alabama as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to execute this deed. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now consider amending the ABC license due to a Scrivener's error for the Butcher's Daughter Bake Shop and Market. I call for a motion to amend the previously approved ABC license for the Butcher's Daughter Deli and Market LLC, doing business as the Butcher's Daughter Deli and Market, due to a Scrivener's error. The amendment corrects the business name to the Butcher's Daughter Bake Shop and Market LLC, doing business as the Butcher's Daughter Bake Shop and Market, for a retail beer and retail wine on or off-premise license located at 208 North Main Street. Do I hear a motion?
Move to amend the previously approved ABC license due to a scrivener's error.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to amend the previously approved ABC license due to a scrivener's error. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor, you have a report for us?
Thank you, Mr. President. This weekend is the severe weather preparedness sales tax holiday. I encourage all citizens to purchase supplies used to deal with the effects of severe weather like batteries, foam chargers, plywood, and fire extinguishers. Weather radios and smoke detectors are also included. While I hope we don't encounter any severe weather, it's always best to be prepared and to have multiple ways to receive alerts during this inclement weather. A reminder for enterprise business owners that your business licenses are now past due. Please return your cards in the mail or stop by the revenue office at City Hall as soon as possible to avoid any additional late penalties. For those who may have missed it, we held the ribbon cutting and grand opening for the Enterprise Recreation and Aquatic Center on February the 8th. Congratulations to Blake Moore and the entire Parks and Recreation staff on this state-of-the-art facility. We look forward to seeing it serve our citizens and community for years to come. And a special thanks to our city staff that work close together to help make this project a success. Speaking of the new rec center, we are proud to host 40 volleyball teams this weekend for a tournament. We expect these players, coaches, parents to be out shopping, eating, and enjoying our city when they are not playing games. I hope this is just the start of many tournaments and events that will continue to draw people to Enterprise, the city of progress. Congratulations to the Enterprise High School basketball program. Both the boys and the girls team made it all the way to the Sweet 16 in their respective tournaments. We are proud of these students, athletes, and commend them on a job well done this season. Finally, a reminder to follow the City of Enterprise on Facebook to stay up to date with current events. You can also find more information on our website, enterpriseal.gov. A special welcome to the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. Glad to have you with us tonight in our meeting. Thank you for coming.
Ms. Rich?
I often don't like to go first because I know what that's I know how I'm gonna get accused. But I would be remiss to not say what a day we had on February 8th, where we had our ribbon cutting for our new recreational and aquatics facility. And it was absolutely astounding. So I want to commend you, Mr. Moore, and all of the parks and rec staff on such a job well done, and everybody that took a part in that. And congratulations to you, Mr. Moore, on your appointment, I guess, tonight. I get nervous when he wears a shirt and tie. It's always some big butts on the table, but today he had his time to shine, and so I'm happy for you. I definitely want to say welcome to the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I know that you all have, I talked to Ms. Frazier, and I think the Delta days are going on, so it's good that you all showed up in all that red in here today for your Delta days. Happy to have you.
Mr. Goolsbee?
Well, ditto to what Ms. Sonia said. I personally would like to congratulate Mr. Moore. We're looking forward to working with you. And Ms. Frazier, we thank you for the compliments. Appreciate you ladies being here tonight. Hope everybody has a good evening. Thank you.
Mr. Padgett?
Well, thank you, Sonia, for being our spokeswoman.
Anytime.
I'd also like to echo what she said, though. Walking into that rec center on the opening day, I actually turned around and looked at her and said, is this really Enterprise? Is it such a nice facility? And I'm so glad to see us progressing as we have said we're the city of progress. I'm glad to see the progress being made. And congratulations, Blake, for your appointment. You can quit acting now and start actually doing. He's been the acting director, so I told him he could quit acting now. And ladies, I'm going to get that sorority wrong, but thank you girls for coming and for your kind words. I don't even remember all those words.
Just like to say thank you to everyone for coming tonight. It's awesome to see this many people out here. You know, sometimes there's 3 or 4. I'd love to have the whole city sitting right here. It's great. And they can hear what happens from our standpoint for their city. And thank you to all our folks that are also watching, streaming on TV, on the YouTube. Thank you, Blake. It was awesome. I talked to Barry. We talked about how many years this was coming. I was telling a lady the other day, was asking me about, that's going to be a lot more noise. And I said, yeah, well, it's been years before the noise has been over there. But when you hear those young kids out there at the pool starting in April or so, don't quote me on April, but sometime around there, it's going to be a great scene out there. I mean, I even got to play with the water guns the other day. But thank you, ladies, for those very awesome words. And we definitely, I've already talked to Emily, I'd like to get a picture with all of us and the mayor with you ladies before you leave tonight. And thank you again for those words. Thank you for our city staff. Thank you for especially the engineering section, code enforcement that I talk to a lot. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Tarzan. Beverly, I'm going to leave somebody out, Emily, Leanne, but I'll tell you, we've got the folks, we've got the team here, and now with this rec center going on, with our brand new city hall coming in, it's going to be awesome, and we'll be able to serve our community much better coming. So God bless y'all. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's all been said, but I'll say a few of them again. Thank you, the ladies, not to show up Mr. Paget, but I wrote the Greek letters down, Delta Sigma Theta. So thank you all for coming out and for the kind words. Mr. Moore, certainly congratulations, well deserved, and I know you're going to do a great job. Excited to see what is in store for Parks and Rec. Barry, also thank you for your contributions to the new facility, and Shannon, and really, like Jonathan said earlier, everybody contributed to that facility. But it sure was awesome to see something that most of us just actually started in this building with stakeholders meeting and people walking around the room putting sticky notes on things, and gosh, that was seems like forever, about 7 years ago now, I think. So it takes a long time to get things like that done. So thank you to everybody. And I will not hold us any longer. We are adjourned until the first Tuesday in March, which is March 4th, 2025. We'll see you at 5 p.m. for our work session in this room. We're adjourned. I don't think it might be called out. Is it Scribner or Scribner? 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 Hi, man. Congratulations. I don't know. Somebody will say nice kind of things about it.
Done it.